Hey there, 8th graders, and welcome to today's Explainer. I am so pumped to be hanging out with you today because we are going to build some seriously powerful research skills. Now, whether you're gearing up for a massive class project, getting ready for a debate, or just trying to figure out what's actually true on your social media feed, you absolutely need to know how to find information you can actually trust. So today, we're going to become master researchers, and I'm giving you the exact toolkit to make it happen. Let's dive in.
Here is our game plan for today. 1. The quest for truth. 2. Discovering primary sources. 3. Understanding secondary sources. 4. Bringing it all together. 5. Testing your knowledge. And 6. The godly learner. All right, let's get moving.
Section 1. The quest for truth. Why strong sources matter. Think about research kind of like building a house. If you build it on shaky or totally inaccurate information, the whole thing is going to crumble, right? To avoid being fooled by fake news or biased claims, a strong project has to start with a strong foundation. And Proverbs chapter 18, verse 13 hits the nail on the head here. It says, "To answer before listening, that is folly and shame." In our world of research, listening means seeking out the right sources before we ever try to speak or write on a topic. We have to listen to the truth to act with wisdom. If we just rush in to give our opinion without gathering the facts first, well, we're just setting ourselves up for foolishness.
Because guys, here's the absolute truth. Not all information is created equal. Seriously, lock that into your brain. Just because something is printed in a book or popped up on a website does not automatically make it a reliable fact. Knowing how to actually evaluate your information is a crucial life skill, one that's going to protect you and empower you in basically every decision you make.
All right, Section 2, Discovering Primary Sources, the direct evidence.
So, what is a primary source? The definition is actually beautifully simple. It's an original, first-hand account of an event or a topic. Think of it like a direct witness to a car crash. The person who was standing right there on the corner and saw the whole thing happen with their own two eyes, that is your primary source. They were there. They experienced it directly.
You're going to see stuff like diaries, interviews, speeches, photographs, or raw data. If a soldier writes in his diary from the trenches, that is a primary source. If a photographer snaps a picture of the moon landing, primary source. They give us a direct, totally unfiltered record from the exact time an event happened. There is literally no middleman between you and history.
Moving right along to Section 3, Understanding Secondary Sources, the Expert Analysis.
Now, raw data is awesome, but it doesn't always show you the big picture. That's why we need secondary sources. These are interpretations, summaries, or analyses of primary sources. So back to our car crash analogy. If the primary source is the eyewitness, the secondary source is the traffic expert who comes in later, reviews the police reports, studies the eyewitness testimonies, and writes a detailed report explaining exactly why that crash happened.
You guys actually use these literally every day in school. Your history textbooks, biographies, newspaper articles reviewing past events, documentaries, these are all secondary sources. Look, the authors of your history textbook weren't physically standing in the room when the Declaration of Independence was signed, right? Of course not. But they studied the primary sources, the original letters and documents, and then organized it all so you can easily understand what went down.
Okay, Section 4, Bringing it all together, evaluating and applying your sources. Whenever you grab a source, whether it's primary or secondary, you've got to run it through this crucial little test. I call it the who, why, when framework. Step 1, who created it? Is it an expert, an eyewitness, or just some random person on the internet? Step 2, why did they create it? Are they trying to inform you, persuade you, or maybe sell you something? And step 3, when was it created? Was it written during the event or like 50 years later? Running your sources through these 3 questions guarantees you're building on a solid foundation.
Let's see this teamwork in action. Look at World War II. A soldier's diary from 1944 gives you the emotional, on-the-ground reality of the war. That's your primary source. Pair that with a 2020 documentary, your secondary source, and boom, now you have the broad historical context of how the whole war was fought and won. Same with the Civil Rights Movement. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s I Have a Dream speech transcript is an incredibly powerful primary source. But when you read it alongside your history textbook chapter, you get a perfectly balanced view of its historical impact.
So if you remember just one thing, make it this equation. Primary sources equal direct evidence, while secondary sources equal analysis and context. You need the direct evidence to know what actually happened, but you need the broad context to truly understand what it all means. All right, 8th graders, Section 5, Testing Your Knowledge, the Homework Challenge. Let's put these new critical thinking skills to work with some rapid-fire prompts.
Challenge number 1. I want you to think of a topic you absolutely love. Could be a historical event, a massive scientific discovery, or even an epic sports moment. Write down one research question about it and list 2 primary sources you could find to give you direct evidence. Remember, you're looking for stuff from the exact time it happened.
Challenge 2. Using that exact same research question, where would you go to find the expert analysis? Write down 2 secondary sources you could use to get that bigger picture.
Challenge 3. Let's get those critical thinking gears turning. Why might a primary source actually be better than a secondary source in certain situations? Think about the unique power of raw, unfiltered truth, especially when an expert's opinion might be biased or missing the raw emotional reality of the moment. For Challenge 4, flip that exact idea on its head. When is taking a step back for expert context actually more helpful than looking at one isolated piece of evidence? Like, why might reading just one soldier's diary not teach you everything you need to know about an entire global war?
And Challenge 5, the ultimate brain teaser. I want you to really think outside the box here. Try to find an example of a source that could be a primary source in one project, but a secondary source in another, completely depending on the context of what you're researching. It is a tricky one, but I know you guys can handle it.
Finally, let's wrap up with Section 6, the godly learner, wisdom and education.
Because look, getting good at academic skills is just half the journey. We need to tie our academic research directly to our spiritual walk. Romans chapter 8, verses 6 through 7 says, "The mind governed by the Spirit is life and peace." What does that mean for us as researchers? It's your reminder that no matter how many facts we gather or how skilled we become at analyzing sources, keeping our minds spiritually centered on God is the true key to experiencing real life and peace.
This right here is the whole philosophy at HeroesMart Academy. We believe that education plus biblical morality equals wise, God-honoring choices. Because honestly, education without morality, it can actually hurt. Simply becoming smarter or more capable isn't the final goal here. Knowledge and intelligence are tools. They should be helping you make wise, righteous choices that honor God, rather than just making you really good at winning arguments online.
So I want to leave you with one final pretty big question. As you go out there and evaluate the information all around you, as you build your projects and form your own opinions, will you use your knowledge simply to be smart, or will you use it to seek truth and honor God? Pursue academic excellence, 8th graders, but always keep your mind centered on God's truth. Happy researching, and I'll see you in the next explainer.